Hi everyone, this is a very basic tutorial for how to use the program SmartMusic. This is a program that we will be using during the time when we're not in school, and we think this can be really an effective way to be practicing at home. But I'll say the disclaimer up front that just like this is new for you, it's new for us. So thank you in advance for being patient with us as we learn how this works. Right now, I'm just going to show you how it works in a practicing application, not necessarily as an assignment, but if you had something to practice, how you can use this to help yourself continue to grow as a musician. At some point, you'll be receiving a classroom code from your teacher. It's going to be very similar to how you sign up for Google Classroom. You'll just make a SmartMusic account and add in your code, and then you'll see all of the different things that have been assigned to you. So right now, down here, I have a piece of music that the high school orchestra is working on, variations on a well-known sea shanty. I'm just going to take you through some of the options that you have, and then just kind of give you a sample of what happens when you're practicing. So I'm going to go to the tracks menu up here, and it shows you that you have 3 different tracks that could be playing while you're practicing. So the first is an accompaniment track. In the case of an ensemble piece, like for band or chorus or orchestra, the accompaniment is typically a recording of the whole ensemble, everything being played at once. And so I would recommend often practicing with that. There are a few exceptions where you might not, but because your part probably interacts with other parts, and so it's nice to have those there to play with. And it's really nice, since we're not meeting as an ensemble, to have the opportunity to play with the other parts. That's something that you would typically not be able to do at home. If you decided you didn't want to use the accompaniment, maybe you're isolating a certain spot to work on, you can just mute it like this. You could also turn it down if you wanted to have it on, but less. My part would be the computer version. It's called the MIDI file. They're playing your part on its own. It doesn't sound great. It's not a real instrument playing. But if you wanted to hear just your part, you could do that. When you're practicing with the accompaniment, your part's already in there. Someone's already playing it. So there's no need to have both of those going at once. And then the metronome is the click track that will be in the background. Again, if you have the accompaniment going, you really don't need the metronome, but it's not going to hurt to have both, so we're going to keep both up. Looking down here, it looks like if you had different pieces, you would be able to select what piece you're practicing at whatever time you want to play it. And it looks like you also can change parts, which is really neat. And so I'm going to move my video up here so you can see the notes a little bit better. But I'm going to play just the first 6 measures or so of this. And I want you to watch as I go through, it's actually going to pick up each note and mark it as green for correct or red for incorrect. I do want to mention one kind of downside that I've kind of learned as I've been playing with this is if you add vibrato to a note, it often will mark it as wrong. So you either have to just decide I'm going to do vibrato and take it with a grain of salt that some might be wrong, marked as wrong, or I'm going to play it without vibrato once to make sure I have the notes down and then add it in later. So that you can kind of decide how you want to use it in that way. The other thing is sometimes it'll just pick up a note that you played correctly and say it's wrong. Remember, technology isn't always perfect. And so again, if don't get all bent out of shape because it says one note is wrong. It's not the end of the world. So I'm going to play the very beginning of this. What I'm going to do is click record, and it will count me in, and then I'll show you how this looks. Hopefully the sound comes out okay on your end. Okay, so as you can see, it looks like at the beginning, my G sharp, it picked it up as an A. So maybe my G sharp was a little bit too sharp. And so I could go back and fix that. Maybe play that part a few times to really get the G sharp down. And it looks like my B must have just been a little bit out of tune. It will mark the note you played if it's a wrong note, but if it's just a little bit out of tune, it will turn it red. So maybe my B was a little bit flat or a little bit sharp. It doesn't really say. And then these are red because that's where I stopped to end the recording. So as you can see, it does a really nice job of it catches the notes that you play correctly, and then even just the smallest amount of being out of tune, it will pick up. So it's a really effective tool because sometimes as we're playing, we might not recognize that, but we can go back and and see what this has picked up. And I believe you can also listen. Let me see when you hit play. Yeah. Okay, and it was skipping there. I don't know if that had something to do with marking the beat incorrect, but again, you can go back and listen, because this is one of those examples where if it marked the note wrong, maybe because you were doing vibrato, you can go back and listen to it and then either say, yes, it really was wrong, or no, it was just sensitive to the vibrato. So that's another great option of being able to go back and listen to your part. Over here, this shows this is in my takes. It shows all of the different takes that you've done. This was my 9th time going through this, because I was kind of playing around with it beforehand. It shows that I only received a 3% on the piece, but that's because I just played a very small amount, 6 measures of it. If I were to keep going, probably if I kept missing a couple notes here or there, I'd end up with like a 98% or something like that. That's how you know you're on the right track. You want to kind of be in the high 90s. To show that you're missing a couple things, but for the most part you're right on. You can delete tracks. If I didn't want to keep my 3%, I can delete it. You also can save tracks. If there's a track that is your best and you want to save it to keep track of it, you can do that. Then to be honest, I don't know if assessments is open to students or if it's only open to teachers. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see this. Let me move myself down here. I think this might be only open to teachers, so we're going to ignore that for right now. Loop is something that I think is really important. If you're in orchestra, you'll know we have the practice strategy called over and over, which means you do the same thing over and over again 10 times. The loop feature allows you to do that. So if you would like to set your loop, I'm going to select, let's say I wanted to do measures 10. I'm going to start my cursor there and then hit set, and I'm going to pull it to 15. Maybe that's where I want to loop. And let me make it shorter so it makes it a little bit easier for demonstration here. So that's going to be my loop for this practice session. Maybe I pick that. So I've hit, hang on a second. See, we're still learning. So it's my 2-measure loop, and then I'll hit play, and it'll just play that loop. Once it counts us in. And then it stops, counts you in again, and you do it again. So if there's a spot you really wanted to work on, no, I don't want to keep going. Hang on. You could set that loop feature on, and I believe then you can go up here and also turn the tempo down. So if you wanted to practice it slowly, you could also do that. So a lot of really great features for practicing. And then under display, you can take off the option for it to highlight measures if you don't want that. This has to do with the little karaoke line that goes through. You can play around with that. And then if you are colorblind, instead of having the red and green notes, you can click this, and I believe it uses different colors so that you can tell the difference. So that, like I said, is just the very basics of how to use this, but I hope that gives you a little bit of a head start on how to make this work, and that you'll be able to use this while we're not in school. The other thing is, at some point, your teacher might ask you to submit a track, just like how you were able to click up here and listen to your playing. We would be able to listen to your playing. So that might be coming in the future. So I hope this is helpful, and have fun using this. And I hope that it's able to provide you with a different way of practicing. It's a little different than what we're used to, but I think it can be a good thing.